Hi! Are you struggling to get your child excited about reading and you're looking for a book that has like some kind of magic, the kind that instantly captures their attention, sparks their imagination, and turns reluctant readers into book lovers? Today, I'm going to share 5 must read fairy tales, folk tales, and fables that engage even the most hesitant readers. Hope you stick around. Welcome to Readers in the Making, the live show where we celebrate the magic of books and the joy of helping kids grow as readers. Whether you're a teacher, a parent, or just someone who loves fostering a deep, lifelong love of reading, you're in the right place. Each week, I will dive into actionable tips, creative strategies, and inspiring stories to help you nurture confident, curious, and excited readers, one page at a time. I'm Trina Debry, your host and biggest cheerleader in the journey of building readers. So grab your coffee, your notebook, or maybe even your favorite book, and let's get ready to inspire the next generation of readers. And hey, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Let's dive in. Hey, so let's talk about fairy tales and fables and folk tales that have stood the test of time, because they really tap into those universal themes like adventure and humor, problem solving, and they are valuable life lessons. Plus, they're often short and engaging, and that makes them perfect for reluctant readers. Oftentimes, reluctant readers get overwhelmed by the amount of reading that they feel like they are required to do or have to do. And so when we can find shorter, simpler stories to start with, just to hook them, then we can elaborate into more complex stories. So what are we going to talk about today? I'm going to talk about the magic behind the 5 timeless tales. We're going to talk about how each story is important and it has skills like problem solving, perseverance, and imagination. And then I'm going to give you some tips to make these stories even more fun and interactive. I hope that you will stay with me. Give me a thumbs up if this is something that sounds good to you and you're ready to get started. I would really appreciate that like button. Giving me that like button lets me know that yes, I'm on the right track and this is information that you need. All right, let's talk about a classic fairy tale with adventure and perseverance. All right, so we're going to talk about Cinderella. Cinderella is up first. Actually, before I get started, I want you to know that in the description, I have a freebie for you, and it is a link to my fairy tales and folktale and fable introduction lesson. It is a part of this big, fat unit that I have, but it is the introduction lesson, and it will help introduce these 3 genres to your child or to your students. So make sure to grab that. All right, so let's talk about Cinderella. Now, I have 2 different versions of Cinderella here with me, and these are 2 that I picked that are specific because of the illustrations. But I think these 2 are so fun. You know, we've got Cinderella, Rags to Riches. It's a story about perseverance. It's a story about kindness and believing in yourself. And plus there's a little element of magic, which we often see in fairy tales. And the transformation keeps kids engaged. I think one way that we could make this even more fun, besides just reading it with the voices, is acting it out and pretending to be Cinderella or the fairy godmother or even the mischievous stepsisters. I love doing a compare and contrast with these 2 because there's so many different versions of Cinderella and some that aren't even Cinderella. They're called something else. There's, an Egyptian Cinderella. There's the rough-faced girl. And we can look at cultural differences within the 2 or 3 different ones that you can compare and contrast. Also, comparing and contrasting is a higher level thinking skill, so that's always a plus. A pro tip is to ask kids what you wish for if you had a godmother, a fairy godmother, and let their imagination soar. All right, let's talk about book number 2. Book number 2 is Stone Soup. Let me grab it. This is a really old version of Stone Soup. There's so many different versions of Stone Soup. Actually, the one that I refer to in my Fairytales, Folktales, and Fable unit is online. It was one that was written for international hunger, food hunger, or I can't remember now what it's called, but it was to reduce world hunger. And it is a very simple, sweet version of Stone Soup, but there's so many different ones that you can read. And kids love a story about an underdog and gathering ingredients to make their own version of the legendary Stone Soup. What lessons do villagers learn? This is often a question that we can ask kids because they're really starting to understand through these characters what it feels like to just keep something to yourself and not share it in any way, or to take a little bit and give a little bit, and then it grows into something really special. And I think that lesson, it can be an important life lesson. So we find those often in folktales, and and that just makes it more powerful. How can we use teamwork in real life? That's another question we can ask them. This is a perfect read aloud for kids who love guessing which ingredient will be added next. That's a little bit lower level thinking, as what ingredient's going to be next. But a more complex level is, again, comparing and contrasting two different versions of Stone Soup, because there are so many out there and there's so many things that are different. The main premise of the story is the same, but the details are often very different. So that's a fun one. All right, book number 3 is The Elephant's Child. And the one that I recommend in my unit is actually one that I found on the Nook app, but I can't get into my account. So that I must have used my teaching account because I can't get in. So the one that I found looks like this, The Elephant's Child. And this is a lovely little story about kids asking why, like the constant question of why. In The Elephant's Child, we learn that the elephant got its long trunk through curiosity, adventure, and a little mischief. So that's really fun. This is another one to act out, letting kids use rope or ribbon to pretend they have an elephant trunk. Kids always love to do that, or even they can even create one out of paper towel rolls. That's a fun thing to do as well. Have kids create their own just so story, like how the tiger got his stripes or why the owl says who. So they're going to tell their own just so. It's just so because of. And that's the fun thing about folktales like that, are they're giving us a message and they're sending a message to us. And then another thing is to encourage kids to make up their own silly animal origin stories. It's a great way to spark creativity. All right, let's look at book number 4, which you can find in any fable, any books that have fables. This is a fable. It's The Fox and the Grapes, and I have these two. This is so old, this fable book and then this fable book. But they have some really good old fables. And this is a short, simple. It's short and simple, but it's packed with meaning. There's a lot of inferencing that has to happen. Aesop fables are perfect for kids with short attention spans. The Fox and the Grapes teaches a great lesson about perseverance and how we justify failure. So I think that's really interesting. It's great to have kids stop in the middle, like midway, and talk about what do you think the fox is going to do next, like making predictions, and then determining if they were actually correct or not, and what are they using to make that prediction, the little bit of text evidence that they already have. Another thing to do is relate it to real life, because fables often teach us a lesson. And we want to talk about times that we faced disappointment and what we've learned from it. You can even turn it into a little mini play and let kids take turns being the fox and acting out the scene. That can be fun too. The last one is also a fable, which can be found in either one of these two books. And it's called The Boy Who Cried Wolf, which is, a cautionary tale about honesty. And this is, again, a short little dramatic story that has a very clear message about trust and honesty, and making it great for kids, stories that are great about teaching strong morals. One thing to do is, what would you have done if you were the villagers? Why is telling the truth so important? Would they have told the truth, or why is it so important for them to tell the truth? You can act out different versions. What if the boy told the truth? What if the villagers didn't believe him the first time? This is a great story to use with kids who are learning about responsibility and trust. All right, so let's wrap it up. Those were 5 books that can really excite your reluctant reader. So we're going to recap. We've got Cinderella, which is an adventure and on perseverance with a touch of magic. We've got Stone Soup, which is a folk tale about generosity and teamwork. We got The Elephant's Child, which is a fun, curiosity-driven just so story, which is also a folk tale. And The Fox and the Grapes is a fable that teaches critical thinking. And The Boy Who Cried Wolf is a powerful lesson on honesty and trust. All right, do you want to introduce fairy tales, folk tales, and fables to your child? Then grab my freebie below. And if you heard anything that you think this is so helpful, I definitely need to give it a thumbs up, or please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a thing. I come and do these lives every single week. I've changed the time a couple of different times, but now I think I'm sticking with 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Just something to remember, these timeless stories, they aren't just fun. They're tools for building a love for reading. And let's turn any story time into an adventure that your child cannot wait to explore. You and I together, creating readers in the making, one page at a time. Take care.